Hello, and welcome to our podcast on support for business owners during COVID-19. My name is Andrew Turnbull, and I am Senior Vice President, Business Banking at CIBC, and I'm joined today virtually by Jamie Golombek. Jamie is Managing Director, Tax and Estate Planning at CIBC. Jamie, it's great to chat with you today.
Thanks, Andrew.
CIBC released a poll of Canadian business owners, and we'd like to share some of the results. So let me start off with that. First and foremost, it is clear that most businesses are facing unprecedented challenges, with 81% saying they've experienced a negative impact on their business. What was encouraging is that in spite of this, we do hear some optimism among many respondents. The majority of businesses have aspirations to rebound and are actively planning the way forward right now. So we'd like to take the next 10 minutes or so to unpack the key issues and provide practical advice about what you as founders and owners can be thinking about now and in the future to continue to achieve your business ambitions. So we've been reading a lot about the many government support programs that have been introduced to support Canadian businesses. There are a lot of programs to think about. It's a bit like alphabet soup out there right now. And I think it might help to provide a quick overview of the key programs for business owners. So Jamie, can you give us a summary of what we've got?
Sure. So let's just talk on a very high level. We have a number of programs, and I'll just maybe spend just less than a minute just to make sure that every business owner understands what the key programs are. Of course, we have the Canada Emergency Business Loan Account. We have a couple of wage subsidies. And of course, we have the newly introduced the Commercial Rent Assistance Program as well as some other lending. So just on a very high level, let me sort of walk us through the loan programs first. Of course, we have the Canada Emergency Business Account. That's an interest-free loan. Right now, that's up to $40,000. That's for businesses and certain nonprofits, really to help cover operating costs. And this is guaranteed by the Canadian government, but it's administered by CIBC. So if we are your primarily banking institution for your business banking account, we can help you with that loan, and up to $10,000. It's 25% of it can be forgiven if you pay the balance by December 31st, 2022. So the other programs that are available, they have additional programs. These are co-lending programs. One with BDC, there's a loan guarantee program with the Export Development Bank of Canada. And again, this is up to $6.25 million. With these loans, that's full underwriting is required on those. So again, speak to your CIBC business banking and we'll give you more information about that. Now, the main business program that we're seeing for most employers that they're taking advantage of so far, of course, is the wage subsidy program. And I'm talking primarily about the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. That's a 75% wage subsidy. And really effectively, it's for remuneration paid by employers from March the 15th. Currently now it's scheduled through June the 6th. And again, your revenues have to have dropped by 15% for the month of March or 30% in the month of April and May. And there's very detailed criteria on the comparable period from last year to the average of the first 2 months of this year. Again, all those details are available online. This is probably the number one program that many businesses are currently thinking about to bring back staff, pay them a wage, and get a 75% subsidy from the government. In conjunction with that, there's a smaller subsidy that's available, typically to smaller employers. That's a 10% temporary wage subsidy. That's limited at $25,000 per employer. And again, all the details of that are online. And then finally, from a rental perspective, we just had an announcement recently on the new Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. And that will provide a loan to qualified commercial property owners to cover 50% of the monthly rent for April, May, and June. Essentially, it's provided through the mortgage lender. And as part of this program, the property owner essentially has to reduce the tenant's rent by at least 75% for those 3 months and also promise not to evict the tenant. So these are the main programs that we're seeing right now. I guess the primary one that most employers are looking at, of course, is the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy Program. Andrew?
Thanks, Jamie. That's a great overview. And of course, we provide details on all of these programs that you've just described available at cibc.com/business. I'd like to take a moment and talk about how CIBC can help you as business owners navigate through some of these programs. for the Canada Emergency Business Account, which, as you mentioned, Jamie, has been the most popular program, if your business now qualifies given the expanded criteria, or if you haven't done so yet, you can apply for the CIBA loan from our website. You'll need to make sure that your business is registered for CIBC online banking, which just requires that you have your business convenience card with you. The process takes about 5 or 7 minutes in total, where you'll be presented the eligibility criteria for the loan and asked which operating account you want to deposit the loan into. So upon approval, you'll receive a confirmation email from CIBC, and the $40,000 loan will be deposited right into that CIBC operating account within 5 business days. And of course, as the government enhances eligibility on this, as it's done so already once, we'll continue to share updates on cibc.com/business. And also remember, our CIBC business banking team is here to help you navigate through this. So beyond the CIBA loan, we're also available to help you apply for all of the other programs that Jamie described and to access these funds as soon as possible. We've also heard in our recent survey that many respondents are looking for more credit to help with operating capital and looking for ways to reduce debt. And of course, we would love to be able to help you with this and through our advice conversations. So please speak with your CIBC advisor if you haven't done so already, and if your needs go beyond that of what the Canada Emergency Business Account can provide. And of course, finally, CIBC is offering our business clients payment deferrals on existing loans, lines, and credit cards based on individual circumstances. Let me turn it back over to you, Jamie.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a lot of different ways that clients certainly can apply for these programs. And I'm just wondering, Andrew, do you have any other suggestions that go beyond these specific programs in terms of Canadian business owners and what they could be doing right now and how we can support them?
Yeah, one thing that's really impressed me is that 45% of our poll respondents have said that they are using this as an opportunity to pivot their business, something that they may have wanted to do anyway, and this has now accelerated the need for being able to do so. What we've seen is that 74% of respondents don't have an online business model, but many have been pivoted in this direction out of necessity. We're going through uncertain and unprecedented times. And successful businesses will absolutely be the ones that can be creative and consider new business models for this very near term and for the long term. On the revenues front, an example that I would raise is we've heard about orthodontists doing video retainer checks, restaurants who have been so heavily impacted, turning themselves into fresh produce market, creating meal prep kits for people to take home, or adjusting to a 100% takeout model. We've seen wholesale food providers who've developed retail sales channels and are now distributing from central locations in each community. So it's actually quite incredible the amount of innovation that's happening in each sector. I think it's also important to keep in touch with your suppliers and your landlords. Have an honest conversation with them to broker the right solution for both of you. You have to recognize that everyone is going through difficult times. And it's important to make sure you have a strong relationship through this for when the economy does reopen. Maintaining contact and open communication will be incredibly important. And so here are a few other checklist items I would highlight. 1, review your fixed expenses and develop a plan to reduce, defer, or receive support on each major line item. As I mentioned, if you have existing business or personal borrowings and are facing hardship, speak with CIBC about payment deferral options. 2, if you're applying for the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, be sure to set up your business for direct deposit on the CRA's website to ensure you're receiving that subsidy most quickly. 3 is review your expenses such as supplier, inventory, and other major structural costs to ensure that you're adjusting what your purchasing is for the current situation. And then finally, check your insurance policies to determine if you can make a claim on any business interruption. And maybe one bonus would be just be vigilant about fraud in this environment, whether that's ensuring you have robust cybersecurity protocols on your own digital commerce channel that you may have just created, or helping your customers avoid phishing and other fraudulent scams during an increasingly digital period of our lives. Looking forward, companies will also need to rethink their business models as the economy reopens. and we're still practicing physical and social distancing. What I mean is that it will be important to think about new technologies and new ways that clients may want to interact with this business going forward on a sustained basis, not just during COVID-19. Jamie, do you have any other final advice you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just want to remind business owners that they also want to just remember there are tax implications of the various programs. So, for example, the forgiveness portion of the Canada Emergency Business Account, when you get that $40,000 loan and 25% is forgivable, that $10,000 is going to be taxable. Similarly, under the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, those subsidies, of course, are considered to be taxable income. You do get a deduction, of course, for the wages that you're actually paying, so it should be a wash. You want to think about that. And finally, just a reminder that it's really important to work with your professional advisors during this period of time, especially on the wage subsidy. The rules are very complex. If you've got multiple divisions, you've got consolidation going on, you've got intercompany transactions, measuring the revenue drop criteria is important. All of the professional firms, whether you're the accountants or the law firms, have become experts in this area. So I think it's just very important to go out there, get that professional advice on the implications, make sure you qualify for those programs, and even they can help you work through sometimes very, very complex applications.
Thanks, Jamie. That is some great advice. And to our CIBC business banking clients who have been listening to this podcast, I'd like to thank you for your business. We are here to support you through this crisis and beyond. If you have any questions or would like to discuss additional support we can offer you, contact our business banking team or visit cibc.com/business. Thank you for your time today. And Jamie, great to talk to you again.